G'day, good evening, thanks for listening. This is an agricultural show focusing on plant science, soil science and microbiology. It's also, the information is educational and scientific purposes, and it is fact-checked, and any of the papers or websites that have been discussed will be put in the description below. Today's topic is going to be I reckon week 10. Are we up to week 10? Yeah, week 10. Biofertilizer, Biochar, Mulching, Nano, Urea. It's going to be rad. So if you're rewatching this back, fast forward until you see some of the screen change. So that indicates that there's been slides put up. And that'll be probably in a couple of minutes. So wait and see if there's any questions or any discussion topics. Give it 60 seconds for that. And if there's none, I'll just rip right in. And this course I've been going through, it's called Soil, Fertility and Fertilizers. It's one that I did in, I can't remember which university it was, in India. But it was one of the best ones I've done to date. With the information is written in 2022. So, well, I rely on it because it's pretty recent, because science always changes. So it's good to have up-to-date information with science when it comes to science. Because there's been a few times in the past, especially where a plant's essential elements have changed. Went from 16 to 17 to 19 and back to 17. So that's ever since 1960, late 60s, when nickel was brought into it, as an example. Hey, there's some cool folk here. Sunshine RB, good day to you, sir. He says, hello, Cherbro Grows. Cheers, mate. Nice to meet your acquaintance. And let's have a look for what's going on today. And I got all the lectures I checked this morning for the week 12, and it's on burning, and that is fascinating. I went through some of them, and it just even jogged my memory to think, wow, that's some really, really good information on how it reduces, 98 to 100% of the nitrogen, and then 10% of the sulfur. It gives good numbers anyway, and I was just, because I've been looking for some soil samples, and it really matches what that says. So I thought, holy mackerel, they're the big deficiencies because of burning, because these fields. Right today, yeah, it's this one, week 10. Biofertilizer, Biochar, yield, mulching, and nano urea. I'll just get this up and I'll stop, and then we're going to start straight into it. See that? I double clicked it. Oh yeah, when you're ready. It's okay, computer, we'd like to take your time. Biofertilizers, how blooming exciting is this going to be? I can't wait. No, nothing really has been said, so I'll rip right into it. This is a topic I've been focusing on for quite a few years now, since I've been taught about the microbes, on how, because I've seen them work for years and know a bit about them. Then after getting the education on to know how they function and what processes they do and what you can get out of them, I started experimenting, seeing if it was true, and it is. It's rad. For organic folk, it's the pinnacle of the organics, because if you've got the right microbes to break down your organic matter and produce the right phytohormones and essential elements that the plant requires, as well as plant protection, it's just blooming excellent. So let's start. Crop nutrition through biofertilizer technology. So what are biofertilizers? They are living microbes that enhance plant nutrition by mobilizing or increasing nutrient availability in soils. So there's various microbes that are out there, including bacteria and fungi, that they colonize the rhizosphere, rhizoplane, and root interior. Well, actually, you can get ones that are on the phyllosphere, which is above the roots too. There are ones that function outside. Rhizobium is a biofertilizer that is symbiotic, so it must only be used with legumes, otherwise it's not going to work and produce these root nodules. These have nitrogen in them, and they're produced anaerobically inside of it, and it sits there, and that's a big amount of nitrogen waiting for the plant's roots to use. So that's why by growing legumes, these sit underneath the ground in your paddock, so it can be available and broken down at different stages to be, to get your nitrogen fix for your plants. That's how they sort of work. Nitrogen, they pull it out of the air. Isn't that rad? They just pull it out of the air, because 79%, 69, 79, no, 70% of the air is nitrogen. 70 point, yeah. So why not use that, utilize it? What's this? This is an overview of the benefits of the biological nitrogen fixation by legumes. So how does it help? It just really helps. Well, you know what nitrogen does. It produces nitrogen A's to break it down and make it available to the plant. You can read that if you'd like. I'm not going to. But a better type is the azos, which they're non-symbiotic. Azo, an example of that's Azotobacter, and that's a group of gram-negative nitrogen-fixing aerobic bacteria inhabiting the soil. So it just sits in the soil and it produces nitrogen. The amount of nitrogen it can fix is 2 to 15 milligrams per gram, which is pretty high. So if you knock that off, times it by 1,000, so that's 2 to 16 grams per kilo. So that's a fair bit if you were to put that, like half a shot glass full per kilo of soil that this can produce when it's working at its best. It just produces nitrogen. Azospirillum is another good, better one, because that produces nitrogen as well as spirillum, gibberellic acid, and indolylcysic acid. Here's the mechanisms of the non-symbiotic fixation of azo. So if you want to go through that, you're welcome. I'm not going to. As it breaks down, it goes from ammonia into ammonium and into nitrate, where the root hairs can take it up. Formulation possibilities and large-scale production of inoculants. So this is what they're starting to do now. You'll find there's a lot of products that are going to come out with this inoculated inside of it, because you only need a little tiny few spores for it to germinate, for it to start reproducing again. So by getting this into your substrates, it'll stay in your substrates if you don't kill it. All sorts of things that can kill it: pesticides, herbicides, H2O2. Here we go, Azospirillum. This is even better. Azospirillum is non-symbiotic as well, and it's a nitrogen-fixing aerobic bacteria. It also has different mechanisms that induce systematic tolerance, which include the production of different metabolites, the plant hormones, antioxidants, osmotic adjustments, and defense strategies, such as the expression of parthenogenesis-related genes, or PR genes. It'll prime your genes for you to be ready for action. Well, actually, most microbes do that, but anyway, let's go on with it. Azospirillum brassulaceae. See, that's a different species that you shouldn't source. You should source Lipoferium. Lipoferium is the one that produces a lot of hormones. And these are just examples of it growing in corn, on how you can see yield goes up nearly all the time. Actually, in corn, it produces, sugarcane, Azospirillum produces 80% of the nitrogen requirements for the whole growth cycle of sugarcane. This one microbe, just one. Here we go. On the left, it's been inoculated with it, and you can see the difference. See how down the center here. On the right, it hasn't. So see on the left, it's a lot more greener because the nitrogen's been bound up because it's been made available for it. Or on the left, it's a lot yellower. And look at the width of the leaves, the health is a lot more vigorous. It's a lot taller. So the yield you can expect out of here is going to be a percentage difference. Cyanobacteria are a group of photosynthetic organisms which can easily survive on bare minimum requirements of light, carbon dioxide and water. Yes, that's true. I've been doing this for quite a few years. There's a few different genus species that you want. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's find out what they are first. That's all they need. You don't need to give it anything else. I haven't put anything into it, and it still remains green. It gets topped up from the rainwater, and I top it up sometimes too. Actually, I'll see if there's any questions so far, because those biofertilizers are pretty blooming rad. And you were the person I was just thinking of when I was saying that too, Raptor. G'day, Raptor. How's it going? Neil Source. How's it going, mate? It says, we have had some interesting mutations. I will share that with you by email. Cheers. Oh, interesting. Mutations are brilliant to work with. They're so fun. Oh, wow. When you can work with them. And thanks for that. I'd like to hear about that yield source and see what's going on. See what genes have been dominated and recessive. What am I doing? Sharing this. And I was just thinking of you, Raptor, when I was saying this. Remember we were talking about the organic requirements for cyanobacteria, and it was difficult, not difficult, but it was a topic that I wasn't, I made a suggestion how you got a very hard way how you can do it. Well, this is the easy way. It just shows here that they survive on light, carbon dioxide and water. The same way I've got my 5-gallon pail sitting outside. It's been outside for quite a few years now. Actually, at least 3. Yeah, and I haven't done anything to it. I just get a few scoops because the water level goes down from evaporation. The rain level tops it up, and when it rains a lot, I'll take a few scoops out and toss it on the garden. And that's about all I've really done with it. So, because they are phototrophic, they naturally occur, which means they produce the energy from the sun. They naturally occur in paddy fields all the way from Antarctica, wow, to Arctic regions. They fulfill their own nitrogen requirement by pulling nitrogen out of the air and produce some bioactive compounds which promote the crop's growth and protection from pathogens and improve the soil's nutrient status. Isn't this all amazing? These are only a couple of microbes. Just by introducing these few microbes into your substrates, you're going to get these amazing results. And I've been doing it for a few years with these particular ones, and I find it to be true. Cyanobacteria, well, there's 3 versions that you want. This is the blue-green algae, is what they used to call it, but that's wrong because it's not an algae. The algae has it's a eutroph. Oops. Oh, I'm just tongue down here. The type of prokaryotic cells the cyanobacteria has, because it's a bacteria. Eukaryotic cells are ones humans have and other types of higher species have, and it doesn't have it. So that's the bottom bit is incorrect. That's all right. These slides, as I'm going through, the teacher, the professor, he sometimes goes and pulls them up and edits them whilst in the class, whilst talking. So that's what made me think, okay, yeah, these are just done up by students or whatever, just writing them up. But back to it. So cyanobacteria's benefits in agriculture, it's a biofertilizer, soil fertility improvements, biocontrol, and crop production enhancements, which lower stress and higher the quality. And that's all which will lead to sustainable agriculture and environmental development. Sustainable agriculture, that's that word that keeps coming up. Brilliant. So this also helps not only agriculture, but it helps the environment by bioremediation, carbon sequestration, methane, I'll say ethylene or methane augmentation, biofuels, parts of food, wastewater treatment, clean, safe environment. Okay, good. That's a pretty fine look on the side there with the bits of yellow. I've never seen mine flower. I've seen it go to like lumps on top where it goes brown, where I think it's flowering then. I've never seen the yellow bits. Phosphate mobilizing and solubilizing microbes as biofertilizer. So yes, all you need is organic matter with the right phosphate microbe, and it'll unlock the phosphate in the organic matter to make it available. That's what that summarizes as. Good example is mycorrhizae fungus. A lot of fungus does it. Mycorrhizae informs symbiosis with most agricultural plants. Most. It says that they lengthen the root hairs because it grows at a very fast, vigorous rate underneath the ground in the right environment and moisture. So it can lengthen the hairs and help out with the roots of your different plants. A few different types, ones that live inside and ones that live outside. Ones that live inside, I'm not going to go right into it. If you want, you can read these. It's more so the species that you'd be trying to get, because the ones that they suggest have been tested on, like they'll write this information here. So you look up glomus. Actually, it's not called glomus anymore. It's called irregularis. But they have done papers on them. They look up that, then there's papers on it. I'll read the papers and make sure that they're good. Okay, they do what they do, so I'll put them in these slides. So you can trust what they say here, is in other words what I'm trying to get at. So if I was to look at some arbuscular mycorrhizae, which are on the arbuscular on the inside, I'd be looking for those types. They do produce phytohormones as well, like indole cystigated, cytokinins, and gibberellins. And all of the microbes that I source, I always make sure that they produce phytohormones, because so far I've found my dozen that I use regularly, every single one of them. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. Actually, I'll give you a sneak peek. Let's see if there's any questions first. Raptor says, very interesting to explore different countries' definitions of what constitutes organic use. Organic use. You can elaborate if you'd like. If you found one that's well, every developed country should be pretty similar. With the definition of organic, it should be what's carbon, holding carbon molecules inside of the atoms. So it's really organic matter. We can delve into that if you want a bit more, but I'll continue here. I'm really enjoying this topic. I hope you guys and girls are too. Actually, wasn't there something I can push this in? Is that gets it to the big? No, oh, maybe that one. Oh, look at that! It's huge. Fantastic. So fungi. Well, fungi also help the plant uptake water and protect plants against infection by soil-borne plant pathogenic microbes. So that was, I explained that before by putting the extension of the root hairs. Then fungi also interact synergistically with beneficial soil microbes like nitrogen fixers, phosphate solubilizers, and other plant growth promoting rhizospheric microbes, or PGPRs. So it's a good one to have. So it's because there's, what is it? I'm not going to actually say that. It's pretty difficult. Simplified flow chart of the production of biofertilizer. So you isolate them from the soil. Oh, this is how to isolate them. We're not going to worry about that, because all you need to do to multiply them is to get these species that you like, that do the function, and add water, and that should be enough to get them started. And now once they've germinated, they'll want to continue their growth and development, so they'll need different things for that. So that's why putting it in the soil or substrates, it can generally continue its growth and development patterns, and therefore it'll keep multiplying, and before you know it, you've got a nice little colony. So it's said for, actually I'll conclude that at the end. As fungi's, obligates, no. What other good things do they do? That's for grass production. No, okay, let's speed it up. There's a lot to cover here. Oh, that's how to get. Actually, that's what I was going to say at the end. Was this? How you multiply your microbes. You put it in your compost heaps. Cut a long story short. Inoculate that. Do it before rain. Or I walk around sometimes, put it in a spray bottle before it's going to rain a fair bit, and I'll spray it on top of the grass even. Like walk all over the yard and just keep spraying it. Because what that's going to do is put those spores into the grassy area, and then those spores are going to get washed and with the water in deeper, and then hopefully they'll stop on some organic matter. Then they can start and do their processes. And the lifespan of a microbe is a full stop on a piece of paper. See that dot there? That's the lifespan of a microbe. So you've got to keep that in mind when you're trying to broadcast and get it out to the areas you want. Earthworms, transport them around, other things that move in the soil. So there's various ways. I'll keep going. Read that if you want. Isolation. No. That's how they get them from the lab. Like, all right, well, phosphate solubilizing bacteria is here. So they would have gone and got a sample and tried to separate this, and then this is how to do it. I'm not going to go into detail. Tissue culture stuff, it is mass production. Here we go, biochar. What's bloomin' biochar? It's role in soil fertility and crop growth. Biochar is a fine-grained, carbon-rich, porous product remaining after plant biomass has been subjected to a thermal chemical conversion or pyrolysis, or been heated up to a temperature of 350 to 600 C with little or no oxygen. What that turns it into is black gold, known as agriculture. It's variable in quality depending on the raw material, pyrolysis conditions, whether it has been enriched with other compounds, and how finely it is ground. Long-term intensive cultivation of soils results in soil degradation, decreasing fertility and increasing erosion. The decrease in soil organic matter decreases the aggregate stability of the soil, of how it can make aggregates, or those little tiny round things. Therefore, it is crucial to remediate the soil degradation by incorporating organic material. Moreover, biochar is rich in nitrate. Phosphate can be also processed to be a slow-release fertilizer to enhance soil fertility. All it is charcoal with holes in it, basically. Manure and compost both lead to ammonia and methane release, which can aggravate global warming. Okay, good. Bring a renewable source like biochar. Helps environment and soil. Properties of biochar. Physical properties: surface area, porosity, temperature, and water holding capacity are the properties that you look for in your quality of your biochar. So the chemical properties. So increasing the temperature increases the content of the carbon, copper, nickel, zinc, cadmium, lead, and decreases the cation exchange and salinity, or EC, of the volatile matter, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and sulfur of the biochar. Increases the content of all that by righto. That's because it's in a non-oxygen environment. Surface chemistry. What's this say? Generation of surplus of crop residues in different states of India, which we're not going to go through. Methods of bioproduction. So they put a heap. See how I love this in India? They teach the poor man's way, like myself, or the rich man's way, if you can afford it, like if you've got machines to buy big furnaces and all sorts. So this is the poor man's way. So methods of bioproduction. So you've got the heap, and it's got to be covered with leaves and earth, because that seals, it's got to seal it so it can smolder. Here's the drum method. Put it into a drum, heat it, and pull it out. Wow, can't get any easier. Biochar stove, if you want to get fancy and buy cement some money, it actually looks like homemade as well. So you put it around it with a furnace in the middle, like over here. Applications. Proper handling is necessary. Erosion problem mixed with compost or manure. Very good. There's someone putting that out in the field. So it's just a thin layer. So see how it's just changing the colour of it? Like when you should lime, same thing. Properties of biochar. I'm going to go into it. Well, the operating parameters during pyrolysis influence the physical structure, like the heating rate, the highest temperature rate, and various other factors. Rate of biochar application. Well, it depends on the type of biomass used, the degree of metal contamination, and the types of proportion of different nutrients. So they reckon rates vary from 5 to 20 tonnes per hectare, or half a kilo to 2 kilos per square metre. What's that in pounds? Times it by 2 for pounds. A kilo per square metre. Well, that would be a kilo, 2.2 pounds per 3 feet square. It's just enough to change the colour of the rate. Kind of went through that. Properties of different biochar. This will give you an example of where you source it from for what the source is to what the outcome is. So they've used corn, cotton, and prosopis, whatever that is. And you can see all these different amounts here from these a dozen different NPK, caloamide, sulfur, and all the other different very important bulk density, particle density, pore space, pH. Effects of biochar on soil health is amazing. If you've got infertile soil or very poor soil, you just won't believe the difference, because it's also a home for microbes, and then it can do other things, soil physical properties, chemical and biological. So it helps in all these different ways, just like organic matter does. Biochar is very important too. And for its biological effects, for microbes, it increases the colonization because it makes a home. It helps with nitric oxide consumption, which is bad for the environment. It increases activity of enzymes and stability of carbon retention. Effects of biochar on different soil properties. So you can see up the top, property, effect, biochar property, and the mechanism. On the left is the soil organic matter, WHC, the porosity, carbon sequestration, environmental emissions, nitric oxide emissions, and nutrient leaching. So what does it have? I'm not going to read any of them. If you'd like to know, pause it or go back, because I've got a lot more to go through here. I should actually stop and just see if there's any questions. Very interesting. Well, yes, Raptor says, like organic inputs not coming from organic sources. Yeah, they're exactly right. Well, they can't put that, it can't be organic then, because I went over that with a supplier in Australia. They were adding phosphate from a non-organic source and trying to say it's organic. It's not. Didn't mean to swerve the conversation. No, it's all these things are fine, mate. Whatever you think at the time, whatever the viewers think at the time, is it's good to hear, because they're generally, I can quickly answer it, and then maybe make a show of it next time. Or if it is similarly on the topic, which this is, because your organics question originally was, I'm just talking about organics today. So I think it is very relevant. So no, you're right, mate. I like the questions. TLUD is very affordable method for small scale biochar. Okay, I don't know what TLUD, but it must have been one of those 3 methods that they brought up. Yeah. If your field is pretty much, if you put a lot of organic matter in, you pretty much, well, biochar is just another amendment, but if you've got a lot of organic matter there already, it's bound up, it does a lot of these things, it's like similarly to biochar. Biochar is just an activated one, where organic matter is not. All right, to half an hour. Good. I think we're probably halfway in. Schematic presentation of the role and potential of biochar in an environment relating to carbon sequestration and soil organic matter. So I can only help. That's what the summary is. Sorry if I'm not going through them, but there's a lot to go through. Remember, I'm covering 1 week of lectures in 1 hour. This says biochar and biochar's compost in relation to crop yield. Well, biochar's application at 10 tonnes per hectare increases crop yield by about 20%. There you go. But how do you know what type of field that was on? Was it an infertile field? So that'll do. I want to explain what this says here. Effects of different biochars and its application rates on growth and yield attributes of groundnut. So these are the different amounts that they put in and sources they got it from, and you can see the different results in, here we go, the pod yields, which is the important bit for the groundnuts. So here's the highest, these two are the highest. So they put in maize and red gum biochar at the application rate of 5 tonnes per hectare on both, and they found that to give the highest yield. So that's what worked well in this person's field. You can see the control has 1200, this has 1800, so it's a substantial increase. 20% increase on each nut. On tomato, all of these things go up, but it's hard to say because you don't know what its original paddocks were like. So summary, biochar called black gold is highly stable carbonized product of biomass. It improves agriculturally significant soil parameters such as pH, cation exchange, and soil holding, water holding capacity. Reduces greenhouse gas emissions and improves carbon sequestration used as soil amendments and as a nutrient source. Mulching. What's this mulching business? Is it good or bad? Can you really use plastic for mulch? Well, mulch is any material other than soil placed on the top at the soil level for soil and water management. Mulches are materials placed over the soil surface to maintain moisture and improve soil condition. What is mulching? It's in agriculture and gardening. Mulching is the practice of leaving crop residues and other materials on the soil surface for soil and water conservation and keeping favourable and stable environments for plant growth. The applications of mulching reduces soil evaporation, conserves soil moisture, suppresses weeds, controls soil structure and temperature, controls soil erosion, improves soil aeration. If done properly, you've got to put holes in if you use plastic, and influences soil microbes. Mulch tilling is also another form of minimum tillage. It is a cost-effective alternative for a high-yield conservation agricultural practice. Mulching. This is like nearly a show just on mulching. So on the left is the mulch, and it breaks down all the organic matter, which helps It also suppresses weeds and helps when exposed to light, stays dormant. Okay, so it doesn't germinate the weed seeds. If you don't mulch, heat builds up, it dries out the soil, evaporation and moisture is lost, plants wilt too fast. When the rain comes on it, it doesn't actually soak in, it runs off the top because it's a very hygroscopic surface has been created. Around here it's hydrophobic, where it's water-loving surface because it just absorbs into it, doesn't run off. Also, mulch helps with minimizing evaporation. What materials can be used as mulch? Well, organic or inorganic, and actually gravel, concrete, like you see in the cities. They're ruining everything, but they're not doing it in most cities, I should say. Organic mulches, I've seen over here, are something like grass, leaves, hay, shredded bark, whole bark, husk, paper, animal waste, and cover crops. Organic mulches are usually temporary as they decay over time. And when they decay, they add awesomeness to the soil or substrate. Inorganic mulches are the plastic ones. It's just use plastic, big sheets of plastic. Backfill with dirt in the middle to hold them down. That's it. So the whole field's covered with it. But because you put holes in it, made by a dibbler, that can breathe. Then if you'd had the whole field like this, you'd probably have to put subsurface or drip irrigation underneath it. There you go. So what are the methods of mulching? Well, flat mulching, plastic mulching with holes, ridge mulching or ridge furrow. So you can mulch on the top only, or on the bottom and the top, or just on the whole thing with holes in it, or just traditionally flat for massive big fields. That's where you'd have a mulch machine and you pull it out by go on the rollers for it and everything. Here's a little picture of what those were looking like. There's the ridges, furrows, ridge furrow. Bulk density, or the compactness of soil, and how porous it is. Shows here in 3 different depths. What's the point in this? Oh, this shows with different compost effects on it. In here, the treatment on the amount of porosity it has and bulk density. Very cool. So, CK is bare soil, CB, cobblestone, water, permeable bricks, pine bark, green, waste, compost, and turf grass. So what's the best? Depends on different levels. But in general, you can say, well, there's a high there. So green waste, and deeper down, it was the cobblestone. So there you go. If you're thinking about using different things on top, think about that. Also, pine bark might reduce your pH. So if you've got a alkaline substrate, you might want to use pine bark specifically because it has a lower pH level. Relationship between soil bulk density, porosity, and mulch rate. So there's a pretty snazzy chart. Shows you how much mulch rate you should use for the amount of bulk density and total porosity you'd expect. And see that the more mulch you put on, it can actually get detriment. So it can become, look at that graph going downwards. So it's soil temperature is fascinating. So this is cool for the mulching different materials. This is really cool. This is over a 2-week period. You can see up here, the full line is the air temp. And then underneath it's got all the different ones that it has: the straw, plastic holes, paper, bare, grass, and plastic. And you can see the ... is the paper down the best, but who can put paper down? And also most paper these days, it has metals in it. If you got a newspaper with ink, it's got heavy metals in it, which are really bad for the soil. So don't use that. So this is in India, remember this course that I took? So they teach you for everything. They might have clean brown paper, but underneath that's plastic. So that one keeps the temperature the lowest, believe it or not, by a couple of degrees Celsius. So yeah, you can see the air temperature went right up above, what's that, 31? What's 31 about? Let me have a look. 31's about 81. I was going to say 80. Soil moisture. What's the effects of the soil moisture of mulching? So on the y-axis, soil moisture content. X is the date. Over here again is the rainfall amount in total. So you can see they had a fair bit of rain, then it went down. So what retains it in here? Well, there's a little bit more rain in here, so it should spike again. But what keeps it sort of, what's the best? What's this dot, dot, dot? That's plastic again. So it keeps the most moisture retained, and that makes sense because less can evaporate off. And as it gets more area, it should go down. So you can keep that into content. If you're in a dry region, different mulch rates, crusting and sealing, not going to go through them. Response to soil pH of the mulch treatments, well, it depends what you put it with. Response to soil EC or salinity for mulch at different soil depths. Response. That's why you go with green manure or organic matter. You pretty much can't go wrong, because you saw, remember a while ago, it was quite high on that total porosity, and also it adds organic matter back into it a large amount. So green manure, you can't go wrong. So mow the grass, put it back in, or save it in piles if you want to use it. Microbial biomass and dehydrogenase and urea in different mulch treatments. Okay. Is this important? Not really. Depends what type of microbe you use too. Does mulching have any negative effects? Well, yeah. Plastic waste, it's the plastic mulch, it's got to be thrown out. Plastic residues, it breaks down and goes in little microballs. They're not very good for the environment. Plastic film again. Potential pollutants come from soil, water, repellency. Okay. What else? Organic mulches such as wood chips and bark may lower the pH. Too much organic mulch can lead to excess moisture, creating other problems with fungal disease, pathogenic problems. If you keep the moisture too high and don't let the levels, the permanent wilting point, go down to field capacity, it doesn't have that dryback effect. When carbon-rich materials such as straw and stalk are used for mulching, nitrogen from the soil may be used by microbes by decomposing those materials. Thus, nitrogen may be temporarily not available for the plant growth. Mulch farming is a form of conservation tillage that preserves soil quality and environment. Mulching materials, you can read all that. Well, it improves the soil organic matter, which I've already spoken about. That's why I'm not going to read it all, because it's reintegrating what's been said. I like to summarize. Availability. The main focus should be to reduce the negative impacts of mulching. To get the benefits from mulching, it is imperative to investigate the effects of different mulching materials under various field conditions that suit your crop and your climate. That's why you can go back and go through all that. Now, the last one, let's see if there's any questions actually, sort of humming along here. Oh yeah, we've got some questions. Genetic memory farms. Mr. Science is in the class. Good evening, he says, how are you all? Genetic memory farm says, speaking of soil temps, Do you think a seedling mat is worth using with little ones to encourage root growth, or is it too warm a soil going to inhibit root growth? Depths, I thought you said. So no, soil temperature, that's more so brought up in the cycling of the nutrients one, where actually I was talking about this to someone else the other day. Let me pull this chart up for you. In nitrogen related to temperatures. Where's the graph? There it is. So the question is soil temps relating to seedlings growth. So if you've got it, this is good too, it's in Fahrenheit. So there's freezing. That's 10 Celsius. 60 is 15. 72 is 22 for Celsius people. And on the y-axis is the amount of nitrogen that the plant can absorb at particular temperatures. So if you've got all your microbes, everything's symbiotically happening and nitrogen's getting broken down, it can be assimilated for 20% at about 50 F or 10 Celsius. So if you've your little ones, you put a soil probe in and it's 10 Celsius, well, they can only get a maximum of 20% of what's available if a perfect substrate. But if you were to raise that to 20 Celsius, look at that, up at 85%. So by putting your heat mat, you've got to buy a temperature probe, buy a temperature thermostat, a digital one, and wire it in to your 110 volt AC. So you get a 110 volt thermostat, digital one with a probe, wire it into your 110 volt heat mat, and then stick the probe in the substrate at the bottom of where the roots are, or virtually say in the middle of the little pot that it is. And then you'll be able to see the temperature, and then that'll tell your mat to turn on or turn off as per getting it up to about 20, 25, or even up. We'll look at the most. It's, what's that? Let's say 80. And 80 F's 30 Celsius. They do like a smidgen hotter than we do. And it also helps with, this is just one element. So it helps with microbes. They prefer up about 40 Celsius. So the higher the temperature, it does cycle faster. I hope that helps, GMF. GMF, g'day. Agree thermostat makes it optional. Yeah, I've done that. They put them out now. You can get the thermostats with the actual seedling mats, and I think they're becoming affordable. But I just made mine from back in the day because they didn't have it available. And then, actually, I've still got a few of them too. Anyway, shut up. Let's get back to it. So I hope that helps, GMF. Let me know if you'd like me to add anything more to that. So by dialing in your substrate, you can program it on whatever number you'd like it to sit on. So, and I do not support seedling mats without a thermostat because they just get too hot and they dry things out. They'll grab, they'll turn on at the wrong times. The air might be freezing, therefore the seedling mat's permanently on. And that's really, really bad for these little pots. So, yeah, I do not support seedling mats without temperature probe thermostats. Oh, here we go. Update. GMF says 40 Celsius or 100 F. Thanks. I'm going, oh, no, I wouldn't put it on 40. I'm going to grab a seedling mat, he says, and my laser thermometer and see. Well, remember the laser only does surface temperatures, mate. That's why you need a probe to get buried. It's got to sit in 10 centimeters or 4 inches. It depends on the size of your pot. Seedling pots might be that big, so put it halfway in the pot. But yeah, I've played around with those for quite some time, and they're very beneficial for your little ones. And the laser one, yeah, that's just going to do the top surface temperature and canopy temperature and that type of stuff. But to get substrate temperature, it just needs to be put in. Raptor says he's burnt cuttings because I've left a mat on during. There you go. Yep. I've had problems too. That's why as soon as I had problems, I just thought, I need a thermostat for this. And then once I got the probe, I thought, oh, cool, I can put that actually in the substrate. And it's waterproof too. They're waterproof probes. So you don't have to worry about when hydrating. Last topic, Nano Urea. This is really, really amazing. I looked to use this. Nanotechnology in Agriculture was a course that I did, 12-week uni course, and this come up in it also. This is an Indian product. It's only sourced in India, and I can't get it. It was patented in India as well. But, oh wow, get a load of what it does. Well, it provides nitrogen without any environmental hazards, and it has massive use efficiency, high use efficiency, and requires less per volume. So this is the urea that people would normally use, and I don't promote that type of fertilizers, but this is a particle size of nano urea. Get a load of that. Look at it. That's awesome. 10,000 times more smaller than the area. And what that mates does, that can absorb into plant tissue. I don't need to read all that, do I? Because it's, yeah, I think I've summarized it already. What was that, the world's first? Let's read that bit. Oh, the world's first nano. Oh, yeah. Nano urea increases the availability to crops by more than 80%, resulting in a higher nutrient use efficiency. Because it's smaller. To cut a long story short, and sprayed on leaves, I've covered that. It gets through all of it because it's small, and it's small, so it can travel fast inside of the plant in its vesicles in the phloem, so I can get to other plant areas very fast, helping. Sustainable options. Here's some of the stoma. There's a stoma, Manistomata, under the leaf, and this shows the science behind it. So the nano liquid contains 4% nanoscale nitrogen particles. The particles are very small, and the number of particles per unit, and they're conventional use. Oh, okay. They can easily penetrate through the cell wall and through the fair dinkum. Okay. I was hoping it would be a little bit better than that. The science behind it. Just a moment. Get on with it. After entering the plants, they are transported, because they're small, through different cells in the plants, through different ways, and can get to different areas in the plant. It's the uptake way. Very good. High crop yields, because the nitrogen can get everywhere. It can enhance the chlorophyll. It just makes the nitrogen basically more available, because it's a nano. It's a size smaller than an atom. Is that actually? No, I can't claim that. I'm not very good at chemistry, but it's very, very small. So it can get anywhere. Increase volume. Yeah, I want to experiment with it to see if it's how much higher crop yields and stuff that I get. And one good thing too, it's foliar. So foliar applications at critical growth stages meets the nitrogen requirements effectively. Isn't that a spin out? So if you're seeing you're coming into a big growth spurt, so it's getting out of seedling stage after a few weeks and starting to mature, you might hit it then. Bang, it's going to keep powering on. Do that every few weeks. Bang, it's going to be turned to flower stage. You want to do similar sort of things then. It just gives the plant, because it's at nanotechnology, that nano size can get everywhere and helps in different cell processes. Environmentally friendly. Store's easy. These are good selling points. What's this going on? I love these slides. Nano urea is easy to carry and store. Look at this. So the life cycle, 2 years from date of manufacturing. So 1 bottle is equal to 1 bag. So this is old mate in his top pocket. Look at that. It's good PPE too. Or you can do it like that. That's funny. I love them. You know, should I say that? No, I'm not going to say it. Certifications, okay. Certified. Nano spray. Isn't that cool? I got drone sprayers now. So spray 30 days after seed germination, because that's when and then spray a second time 2 to 3 weeks after, or 1 week after before flowering. So it's different growth stages. You'll see which different crops you have to different growth development stages you have, and then you can make this decision when you watch it closely. Especially a good indication is the yellowing. So you'd start to see a bit of magnesium or a bit of nitrogen deficiency, where you go and put some of this on, take your drone out, whack it over the field on a calm day, and reap the results. You'd see within 24 hours the green's been absorbed. It's amazing. More storage stuff. Oh, how to use it? Okay, well, if you're lucky enough to get it, I'm sure it's got good things on it on how to use it. I'd love to experiment with it. Healthy soil, what's this? 100% urea and 50% urea and nano urea. It'd be good with just nano and versus that one like the other ones, because it's hard to really show. I can't see much difference there. To be honest, nano urea can be used on all crops for better productivity. And here's some examples of where people have had some luck. Look at this one in the middle. Look how many people there are there. We all have to touch it. Good on them. And here's some case studies on how it's worked. Nano urea requires less to produce more and is better. It is, I believe. That's one thing I would really support that. I'd love to try it. Fertigation. What's fertigation? Well, it's a way of sustainable nutrient, water, and crop management, where you put fertilizer in drip irrigation. Fertigation is a technique of agricultural water management that disperses dissolved fertilizers. So you can actually do that organically with your teas, but you might want to filter if you're putting it through drip irrigation, you might want to filter your tea newts because it might have chunks in it. Why fertigation is necessary? Well, this is sort of, I don't support all these diammonium phosphate and what's that, monoammonium, no, the different types of mineralized fertilizers. I don't support them, so I'm not going to talk about this. Water stressed. I forgot this was in here, types of fertigation. Well, here's the different types. Drip or sprinkler through micro fertigation. Well, it's furrow fertigation, where it's just a big furrow written there and you send water down, or surface. I think I've just gone and covered that. Types of drip irrigation. I forgot this was here. Fertilizer tank and Venturi to make it faster. Very good. Okay. Drip irrigation. I'm going to experiment with some drip tape. Sprinklers, big loss. Crops suitable for fertigation. I think it was any crop. Sources of fertilizer. No, I don't support this. There it is. There's those words. Factors for selection. Well, the major factors would be plant type, soil conditions, water quality, and growth stages of the plant. Soluble fertilizer used in fertigation. No, Not interested. There's really only one thing to remember with, it's calcium chloride. It's not here. When you're using drip, I don't really want to say that. I suppose I've started to say it. Calcium chloride's really, really bad. It clogs up drip irrigation systems. So most things to do with that, it's not compatible. But this is the wrong chart for it. That was in my micro irrigation engineering class that I did course. Sorry, comparative fertilizer use efficiency. No, not interested. It does help. Water savings, yield and profit under drip irrigation and drip systems. They do improve the water use efficiency. And you saw before by the mulching how it retains water. Therefore, microbes like the high amount of moisture and they can cycle better. So it does help in general. So I've got my plastic mulch, but I haven't put it down yet because I haven't played around with the drip systems to go underneath the plastic mulch. The cost of the fertigation. Effects of the water use. Response to different crops under fertigation. We'll see all the yields over here increases. It just increases done properly. It's because it's the water nutrient efficiency. You increase that. Effective drip, and even with the drip pattern, when you put a dripper down, you'll see it gets like adventitious roots where it grows in like a ball here, where if it's not drip roots, it'll go out and they'll put out big, long looking, just the root pattern isn't the same because it's trying to look for the roots, where if it's a drip pattern, it's all around here with heaps of little tiny root hairs because it knows this is where it's going to get the water from permanently. That's why it helps a lot. Effects of fertigation. Yes, nut leaching. Right, you can read that if you want. Summary. Fertigation helps in proper utilisation of water and fertilisers over conventional methods of irrigation, hence increases productivity in crops. Fertigation applied through micro-irrigation systems is undoubtedly one of the most effective strategies to improve water and nutrient use efficiency in agricultural systems. The possibility of supplying water and nutrients at precise manner improves plant water and nutrient uptake at their availability in the root zone. There's some references if you'd like. That's it for this week. That was excellent. Oh, Raptor says, GMF, if you have a dial for your mat, just set it to low. Safest way with no probes is a timer set for the coldest part of the day. Hey, that's some good information. Yep, I like that one. So if you've got a seedling mat, set it to low. Yep, safest way. And a good thing for a seed, if you're using a seedling mat, put the whole of a mat inside of a Tupperware container or like an upside down box, like a clear Tupperware container. They're pretty cool. Get one the size of it. And you'll just turn the Tupperware container upside down and then the cuttings won't be as big because they'll go to the size of the container that you buy. And then you have the light on the outside of it, the little fluoro, or you can just leave it in your greenhouse shelf. And that will allow the temperature to be a lot more regulated if you haven't got your thermostat on a probe put in the soil. Those thermostats are about $30 to buy, probably $20 US, to get a digital thermostat that you can plug an appliance into. You might get, 500 watt ones or something where you could plug a 5 amp appliance into your 110 volt outlet. That was excellent. All right. Put in your questions or topics next week. Let's have a look what we're going to be getting into next week. I didn't really delve into biofertilizers. It was just why they're good. I didn't go into the types and functions, which there are many, which is what I've been playing around with. What's next week? Oh, what? Fertilizer recommendations, approaches, and integrated plant nutrient management. Oh, okay. So it's different strategies how you can keep your plant out of deficiency and toxicity. All right. What's that going to be like? Different types of entrepreneurs. No, that was a good course too. It's not the course I wanted. Potential yield and its field level realization. Crop yield. Today's title was yield. It looks like it's next week. It makes sense for next week too. Okay, cool. I'm sharing, yep. And then I went and downloaded all the slides today for the week 12 for the slow release, or more so burning, the effects of burning on nutrients. Wow. It's not good anyway, put it that way. If you burn paddocks and burn things like that, it's not beneficial. And especially if you've got high amounts of, I should get into that next week. If you've got high temperature and high fuel loads, that means the temperature is going to get higher, and it can even get rid of calcium above 1200 Celsius. Yeah, that's next week. Looks pretty good. And then we're going to get into what a plant knows and what a plant, that course. After that, so in a few weeks' time. So I hope everybody enjoyed today's show. I really did. I love this organics because I've experimented a lot with it, and I find it to work well. And it's only improving things. And for a long-term effect, it's improving things long-term as well. It's there's so many win-wins for it. So I'm happy to share the information. Good on you for listening. So thanks for listening. I hope to join you all next week. Hope you'll bring your questions and discussion topics. We can talk more agricultural science, plant science, soil science, and microbiology. Yay! Thanks everyone for listening. Go Australia in the cricket. Happy growing, happy breeding, and good health to you all. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening.